Pull-ups are the one exercise that everyone wants to learn how to do but seem to have the longest road to get there. And I'm not gonna lie, pull-ups are hard. And it's almost impossible to say how long it'll take any one person to achieve a pull-up because it really is so different for everyone, especially depending on where you're starting in this journey. But no matter where you're at, there's a few steps that you can take to either achieving your first pull-up or getting past that hump of only being able to do one or two. So spoiler, the key to getting your first pull-up is not doing a million assisted pull-ups. To be honest, I really don't encourage using even resistance bands to do pull-ups, or worse, the assisted pull-up machine where you're kneeling and pulling yourself at the same time and it's pushing you up with some weight. The key to getting that elusive first pull-up is going to be consistency, patience, and mastery of each step along the way. So if you're already feeling discouraged, please take a breath and know that it's going to take time to get there. But I'm here to help. Check out these tips for improving your pull-ups and eventually getting the first one. So, no matter what program you follow, you want to be practicing pulling consistently. Now, what I mean by that is practicing pulling or pulling related exercises 3 or 4 times a week. What you are going to want to start with is working on your grip strength, your overhead mobility, and stability. So my very first exercise I start everyone who wants to work on pull-ups with is the lat pull down. Now this, as you can see, is an exercise where you're using your arms and shoulders to pull down a resistance band. And what you first do is you pull your shoulders into your sockets and then you bend the arms to pull that band up and down. And this is kind of your first introduction to what it's like to move your arms the way they would move for a pull-up. Next, we're going to practice active hanging. This is where you'll kind of get to gauge your grip strength and see what it's like to hold yourself on a bar and like hold up your own body weight. So I always suggest starting this for seeing how long you can hold yourself for as long as possible, which is going to vary greatly depending on where you are in your journey. If you've been practicing pull-ups, you could probably hold longer than somebody who's never tried a pull-up before. And then you want to start going for reps where you hang for 10, 20, 30, even up to 60 seconds. This is not an exercise to abandon once you start to get a little stronger. You want to keep doing it because if you want to do 5, 10 pull-ups, you need to hang on that bar for at least 30 or 40 seconds while moving. So work on that active hang. And again, you're pulling your shoulders into the sockets and just holding yourself there with every muscle from your jaw to your heels engaged. Then we want to work on overhead drills like the Turkish Get-up to improve your overhead mobility and stability. This is a kettlebell exercise where you're holding a weight above your head and moving with the arm above your head to move your shoulder through its full range of motion. If you're unfamiliar with the Turkish Get-up and you're like, whoa, Nelly, don't worry, check out the video up here where I explain how to do the Turkish Get-up step by step, and that is a skill in and of itself. Great total body exercise, great upper body mobilizer, stabilizer, and strengthening tool. So once you kind of are getting familiar with having your arms up overhead, engaging your shoulders into their sockets, and getting the back active, you're going to want to start to work on your overhead, arm, shoulder, back, and grip strength. It truly takes all of these components in order to get a pull-up. So I like to suggest starting with overhead strength exercises like the strict press or snatch. Now here you can see you're just going to hold a kettlebell or dumbbell and press it overhead. And with that kettlebell or dumbbell press, you're starting to work on pushing a heavy weight away from you, strengthening your shoulder and strengthening your arms. It's going to also be important to incorporate lots of rowing variations, such as bent over rows from the floor, which you can see here, which practice keeping your core and back tight while pulling something heavy with just your arm. And then you can also do variations where you lean on something with like a 3-point row to be able to lift heavier, or core engaging ones like renegade rows. There are tons of rowing exercises where you're pulling a weight. Pick some, work on them, progress them, and keep them varied. Then of course we want to do body weight rowing exercises like the TRX or low bar row. And now the TRX row is a great tool because it's your first introduction to pulling your entire body weight with your arms while removing some of that weight by having your legs on the floor. I personally prefer this to something like the pull-up machine, and it also is a little gentler on the shoulders because you're reaching your arms in front of you and not overhead. And again, this is going to be a really great tool just to start familiarizing yourself with holding your own body weight and moving your own body. So of course you want to make sure to work on pulling exercises where you're actually on the bar, because the goal is the pull-up. You're not going to get there if you never touch the bar. So the first pull-up I want you to try is the scapular pull-up. This is where you pull yourself up and down by retracting your shoulders into their sockets and pulling your shoulder blades down your back. And you'll actually see, like you can see right here, that your body moves up and down with just the shoulders pulling down and releasing, pulling down and releasing. You're starting to get used to holding your entire body weight and moving it, and you're doing it with your feet off the floor, so it really is like the very first pull-up you'll get to try. Once you can do 10 to 15 of those without feeling like your arms are going to be ripped out of their sockets or like your hands are screaming, you can move on to negative pull-ups. Now this is going to be where you use a box, a step, a stool, or jump to clear your chin over the bar while holding on and then lowering back down with control. Now this controlled lowering takes a lot of effort. This is the easier portion of the pull-up, but is still very challenging. So you're going to want to work on these negative pull-ups for a while. And at first they're going to feel really sloppy. You might almost feel like your arms just your body shot down from your arms, and you felt like your arm was going to get pulled out of the shoulder socket. The goal is for that not to happen and for you to feel really strong in each portion of that movement. So you want it to be slow and controlled. Lastly, you can practice holding yourself over the bar with an isometric hold. This might actually be one of the best kept secrets for getting pull-up strength, because you're clearing the bar, whether you're using a box or stool to step up over the bar or jumping over the bar, and then you're holding yourself there for as long as possible. And I say as long as possible because usually 5 to 10 seconds feels like an eternity. But to actually suspend yourself at the top, the hardest part of the pull-up, is going to build pulling strength like you've never seen before. If you start incorporating isometric holds into your programming regularly, you'll see really good results. And if you can't hold yourself over the bar yet, say you try and you just immediately start going down, don't worry, you can hold where your head is at the bar. And that's another great place to work on holding, and then eventually you'll be able to hold with your chin over the bar. But the pull-ups are not just upper body exercises. They take a lot of core engagement to do them properly. So what I like to suggest is practicing doing hollow body holds. First, you can practice a half hollow body hold like I'm showing here, where you're extending one leg at a time and then the other. Now you can practice this for 15, 30, 45 seconds per side, and once it starts getting easier, then you can move on to a hollow body hold with both legs extended, and then finally you can do a hollow body hold where you're hanging from the bar. So you're in an active hang with your shoulders pulled away from your ears and your toes are kicking out in front of you, and your body is kind of hollowing out from the clavicle to the tailbone, tucking it under to the legs, and you'll almost have a little curve in your body. And now that's going to feel really challenging, but know that by conquering that, you're kind of conquering the beginning phase of the pull-up, and your pull-up will ultimately be really strong. So at some point with practicing all of these things, you're gonna notice you can finally do a pull-up. Or maybe if you've been doing a few pull-ups, you can finally do more. So you're gonna wanna periodically test that. Just like when you're really fresh, after your warm-up, just give it a go. See if you can clear the bar with your chin. Maybe you get halfway there, and then you'll notice every couple weeks you're getting a little closer. But once you can actually do pull-ups, it's time to commit to doing lots of pull-ups. But not just like the same pull-up every single day, every single rep. Again, we want to keep this varied. So make sure before any pulling exercises that you do your overhead mobility and stability stuff with the lat pull downs, scap pull-ups, and Turkish get-ups that I showed before. And then you want to practice at least 3 times a week on pull-ups. So this means real pull-ups, negative pull-ups, scap pull-ups, and isometric holds. And you want to work on switching grips. So we have our overhand grip, which is the true pull-up grip. Like this is what the military would call a pull-up. Your palms are facing away from you. It's going to be the hardest. So I always like to start people there because it's hard to switch from the easier version to the harder version, but you can always go harder to easier. But while you're practicing your actual pulling exercises, you can also pick a chin-up grip, which is where your palms face you, you grab onto that bar, and then it's a really bicep dominant pull, which can be easier for some people because we can have really strong biceps. And actually do some bicep curls, it'll help strengthen your pull-ups. And then finally, sometimes you'll have bars that run parallel to each other, or your pull-up bar will have a handle, and you can grab those for a neutral grip. This tends to be people's favorite because it does tap into the bicep a little bit, but it still lets you use a lot of back as well, and it's a very comfortable grip. So I always encourage the neutral grip if the overhand grip just feels unattainable to you right now. So once you can achieve pull-ups, and you're able to do more than a couple reps, you're gonna wanna start building and practicing doing more reps at a time. So my favorite program, and this is very basic to kind of start to build your pull-ups once you can do more, is of course doing all that pre-work like I keep saying, but then you go up to the bar and you see how many reps you can do. And say I get 5 out. That's great. You rest 30 to 60 seconds, then you do 4 reps, then you rest 30 to 60 seconds, do 3 reps, rest, do 2 reps, rest, and do 1 rep. And then that's it. And then the next day you're gonna try this again and see how many you can do, and then go 1 fewer rep and rest for 30 to 60 seconds each time, all the way until you're down to 1. And keep doing this. You could do it up to 5 days a week, and it's gonna be a great way of improving your pulling strength. Once you can actually do that, you might notice that the first couple days you feel great, then you feel super heavy because your body's not used to that much true pull-up work, and that's okay. Take a couple rest days and then get right back at it. Your biggest key to success here is going to be consistency. So I hope this was helpful. If you are feeling like, oh man, that was a lot of info, I'm not sure how to put it together, please feel free to reach out. You can either comment below or DM me on Instagram at Emma Benoli. I do custom pull-up programming, or you can go online and find your own program. There's tons of free ones out there. However, if they just tell you to do pull-ups and don't offer any of the other accessory work, as we call it, that's not going to actually get you pull-ups and may very well get you hurt. So just be mindful when you pick your pull-up program, and please reach out if you'd like any help. I am so eager to help anyone who wants to get a pull-up. I have helped at least 15 ladies get their first pull-up, and I promise you can as well.